and welcome back to Football 301. I am your host, Nate Tice, and I have a very, very special guest. We're doing a little bit of a reverse hosting and reverse guesting from what we did for years and years and years. I am joined by the Athletic Football Show's own Robert Mays. How are you doing today? So good to see you, my friend.
I'm doing great, man. I mean, we got very lucky. We're recording this at like 12:03 p.m. Central Time. We got some massive trade news that just came down the pike. I was 15 minutes earlier. I'd been complaining because we're doing a live trade reaction show on YouTube on Tuesday. And I was like, oh man, we're going to spend an hour talking about Logan Wilson. Like that's what we're going to spend the next hour doing. And so the fact that we don't have to do that, I'm in a great mood right now.
I bet you are. I'm happy because it happened literally 5 minutes before we went live. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And even an hour ago, about 45 minutes ago, I think it was the Jakobi Meyers trade that made me send it to you. I was like, hey, we might do some trade grades because some stuff's cropping up. So, hey, the NFL time's up for us pretty nicely sometimes. Have you ever heard the podcast, The Dollop?
No.
The history podcast. I think you enjoy it. It's two comedians. One comedian looks up some like historical item and then he just shares it with the other comedian and they just kind of riff on it. And it's, you know, it's instructional. They got some good stuff. It's really funny, but they do a reverse dollop every once in a while where the other comedian researches the stuff. Right now, I feel like I'm on a reverse dollop right now. That's kind of how I feel right now for this episode of Football 301. But Robert hinted at it. We're going to do a couple trade deadline reaction grades, and we're going to get into some midseason awards. We're actually finally at midseason of an 18-week season, or got season, but we're the midway there, and we're going to hit all the big awards: MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Protector of the Year, and get a little Assistant Coach of the Year because I'm excited to pick my friend's brain about that because that's always one of my favorite things to talk with you is we start planting flags on some assistant coaches.
It's so true. The fact that you and I both like Assistant Coach of the Year is one of the more exciting conversations every season, I think says much more about us than it does the Assistant Coach of the Year pool.
It's always something too. And then we always have like 5 nominees. And like, this guy's doing a great job.
Yes. It's just an excuse to talk about all of these guys. And so I've got plenty to throw out there. Don't you worry.
I cannot wait. All right, let's get into the trade deadline first because also excited to pick your brain about this because I thought it was very fitting that the first year I kind of got off the Colts. They do this.
I know.
And after years and years of me and you leading that Colts charge and them disappointing us in different ways, we had the Phillip Rivers year, we had a Matt Ryan year, the Anthony Richardson experience, and then they do this year, and I just keep laughing about that. But they go out and make a huge trade for Sauce Gardner, which led to me already making a St. Elmo's pun, to the Colts from the Jets for 2 first-round picks. Robert, what do you think about this? Colts perspective
there's
first.
There's so many different layers to this, right?
Okay,
I mean, the first thing is Chris Ballard for years and years and years. Every single Colts fan is always so frustrated. He's like, do something. It's just like the poke you do something meme. And he goes out, not only does he do something, takes a massive, massive swing. And so that part of it is fun. It's just a GM who I think has been pigeonholed as this guy who has been very measured and is typically pretty conservative. A lot of the moves that he makes to go do something like this, I think speaks to how strange a position the Colts are in overall. So that part of it I love. The other side of it, I get why the Jets did this, and we can get into why and the benefits of it. But the first response is, didn't they just give him like a massive contract with this regime? Because it's a first-year GM, but they just paid him. And so those are like just knee-jerk first reactions on either side. Those are the first places my brain went.
Yeah, I'll start with the Colts. I think some of the criticism with Ballard is, he built the whole team with a bunch of B's and B minuses, and he pays them, and he values those guys so much. He did the DeForest Buckner trade a couple of years ago, and then that was kind of, which has been a good move. I actually think in due time, I think the 49ers are drafting Kinlaw with that pick. But they really needed corner help. I was Xavier Howard before he retired, and he retired also mid-show as I was doing a show with Matt Harmon, like literally after 20 minutes after I made fun of him, and then he retires, and I was like, geez, were you listening? But even just, that's been my biggest kind of blemish with this Colts team so far. I know what happened on Sunday with the Steelers, but that was kind of a Steelers funky magic, the turnovers. They're still moving the ball. This team can still run the ball, all that stuff. Is the corners. It was just like, oh man, can this team hold up? I like the safeties. I like Lou Anarumo. I think they can stop the run. They got some cool blitzes, but I don't know if the corners can hold up in the playoffs. So let's get Sauce, who was, I mean, I think still considered, even with the down year last year where the whole Jets team kind of gave up, I still think he's a top 5 corner. It's a lot. Like the only trade that comes to my mind is Jalen Ramsey trade a couple of years ago when he got traded to the Rams. That was 2 firsts and a 4th. And, you know, this is kind of similar. A very talented player. I'm very excited to see him in this scheme. But like you said, it's a splash move. They're pushing it. The AFC's wide open. The NFC's wide open. So might as well push it. And then you said this about the Jets. You understand why they're kind of full-blown fire sale, but kind of fire sale-ish. But where do they even go from here? Like, what are you feeling about the Jets in the first year of Aaron Glenn?
I think this is one of those moves when you saw the returns on the trade, then it starts to make sense from the Jets' perspective. Like, think if you're Darren Moogie in this moment, your season's coming off the rails. You are a 1-win team. You're going to be picking at the top of the draft. Anything should be on the table in terms of which path you take from here. If Chris Ballard calls you and says, I'm going to give you 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, you almost have to do it. And I think that's what's so crazy about this from the Colts perspective is this is clearly too much to give up for Sauce Gardner. I don't really care in this moment because I'm having too much fun, but it is too much to give up for Sauce Gardner. The players who are available for 2 first-round picks at this stage of anything are Micah Parsons and players of Micah Parsons' ilk. And so if you're in Moogie's position here and you have a 1-win team where it's like, you know, no matter what, we're going to have to retool a lot of stuff this offseason. No single player on the current makeup of the New York Jets is worth 2 first-round picks. And so I think you almost have to do it. So I think that speaks to how much of a Godfather offer this is, in my opinion, more than it actually speaks to like Sauce and his value to the Jets. Because if you're in Moogie's seat, I just think it would be irresponsible to turn down an offer like this.
I think that's a great way to look at it. I think comparing it more to the Parsons trade is more than anything. It's like a Parsons, who's I'm sure we'll talk about him a little bit on the show, is a top 5 non-quarterback in the NFL? Easy. Top 3? Yes. Top 5, I would say. But let's go with that. Sauce, I just said top 5 corner, not top 5 non-quarterback. And they're going for the same price. And for two teams that are contending this year, Packers, who will probably be picking in the 20s somewhere, and now the Colts, who will be picking in the 20s somewhere. So, yeah, I totally am with you. It's kind of like when Adams got traded from the Jets. It's like, yeah, he's a good player, but got to do it. Like, if you're going to throw a price at me like that, and you get this regime that are kind of trying to make it in their image, too. I have no idea what to make of the Jets because there's been moments where I'm like loving their run game and loving some of the stuff, but I think they're very, very frustrating, obviously with the record and everything. But like you said, it's kind of a Godfather offer that they have to do. But let's go with it. Oh, AD Mitchell got thrown into this trade?
Interesting. Okay.
I actually really like that for the Jets. I think that's a great roll for them.
That is a great like free roll if you're the Jets. Because he's very talented. I think one of the only reasons I think there are deficiencies in his game that have contributed to him not being a part of the Colts plans in the way you might think with a player that has his talent level. But part of the other side of this is the Colts have the deepest, best receiving core in the NFL. That's the reason he can't break into this thing. I'm not sure Arian Smith is keeping AD Mitchell off the field in the same way that Alec
Tyler Johnson.
Right now. Yes.
Tyler Johnson has been one of these players that's like, I try to frame him to people. It's like, I like Tyler Johnson. Me, Nate Tice. That should tell you what you need to know about how high Tyler Johnson is. It's like, he's a scrappy, useful, dirty work guy. But I love that. That's a great dice roll. They need receiver help. Like you said, Garrett Wilson. I like the tight ends. I like Mason Taylor and stuff. But they need this. It's like who else are you going to put out there? Aaron Smith ain't doing anything. He's just a speed guy that can't catch the ball. I think Matt had a great stat that is like yards per route run is just like, it's like minuscule. It's like less than a half yard or something of that sort. It's like a quarter of a yard. But yes, no, I actually really like that dice roll. Let's move on to the other trade that happened. Rashid Shaheed from the Saints, who, I mean, his name has been out here for weeks and months, it seems like, going to the Seahawks. I did not see how much for yet, But what'd you think about this with the Seahawks? Torrey Horton had a nice little game the other day, but this is reuniting Klint Kubiak with Rashid Shaheed.
That was my first reaction. We're in the studio right now, and so I looked at Derek and I was like, poor Torrey Horton. Like Torrey Horton has this really nice game, and now Torrey Horton's getting pushed aside. But I think if you're the Seahawks and you're in, a similar-ish position to the Colts, I think there are a lot of similarities to the seasons that they've had so far in the arc of those seasons. And you think, looking around, why not us? Torrey Horton is an idea that hopefully down the road will turn into a vertical threat within your offense. Rashid Shaheed currently today on November 4th, 2025 is one of like the 10 most explosive players in the league. And so I think adding that gear to your offense, when for right now, it was really like one or two splash Torrey Horton plays and then whatever JSN was giving you down the field. So making sure that we are definitively checking that explosive pay seems like field stretching option. I completely understand it if you're the Seahawks. I mean, this has been one of the most explosive passing games in the NFL. I mean, they throw the ball down the field better than anybody right now. And what better player to add to that mix than a guy with Rashid Shaheed's skill set?
Then literally one of the best deep ball guys in the NFL, one of the most explosive players in the NFL, has offensive familiarity, which I really like too. There's not just an idea here. It's actually like, oh no, there's proof of concept that this works. And also Shaheed, and speaking of Colts receivers, Alec Pierce is in this group too, of speed guys, downfield guys that have added to their game. Like Shaheed is a 3-level guy now, can actually run a full route tree. It's not that I'm not calling him the best route runner in the world, but solid now, as opposed to just speed, just speed, just speed. And this offense needs it. This is why they signed MVS originally. They draft Torrey Horton, but Torrey Horton I really like. But again, more down the road and more as an auxiliary player. It's a 5th-round rookie. Now everyone's Puka Nacua. It's like you're already, I think they're already winning with what Torrey Horton has already shown. Cooper Kupp's been banged up. They've had some other receiver injuries too. So this one makes all the sense in the world. You knew the Saints were selling him. They kind of were like, Chris Olave? Never mind. Not Chris Olave. Not Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed. Yeah. You want this guy. So I really like this fit. Totally makes sense for me. I don't know what the exact price is yet, but I really did like this trade for the Seahawks. Oh, Saints are receiving a 4th and 5th rounder. Thank you, Stone.
Okay, that's a decent chunk of change for the Saints for a guy that was on an expiring contract. What I like about that, I'm so glad you said this, him adding layers to his game. Because I think some people would look at the current state of the Seahawks passing game and look at like some of the advanced numbers and what this has been, they're number 1 in passing DPOY. The Seahawks are right now. So it's like, is pass game help really what you need if you're prioritizing your needs? Well, if you look at like a little bit more granularity in those stats, they do a great job dictating early down play action when they're throwing the ball out of heavy sets. And that allows you to kind of build the entire plane out of JSN. But if it's 3rd and 7 in the playoffs against the Rams, it's going to be really, really important to have a more multifaceted receiving core in those drop back moments. So it's like, this is them seeing ahead of the roadblocks they're going to run into if they're going to try to win the Super Bowl. And I actually really like that.
It's what we talk about all the time, or used to talk about all the time, is the ability to pivot. Yeah. Like, all right, you're doing this. Is it just a valid option? You don't have to be the best in the world at it, but is it something you can actually do and the defense has to honor it? Or you can take advantage with the defense or offense if you're going on the other side and doing it that way. Like, that's the thing. Rashid Shaheed doesn't have to go for 4 catches, 110 yards to make this worthy, worthy of the trade. It's also the boost effect he has on everybody else. JSN's been a revelation as a deep ball guy to me.
We'll talk about it here in a second.
I'm sure we'll talk about JSN on this show. But now, okay, what we want, when Kyle Shanahan came into the Falcons, and what I thought Dan Quinn did a really good job is that he had every coach talk about kind of their ideal guy. And then he made a joke that, I think we talked about this years ago. He was talking about his favorite route, which was a burner, whatever you want to call it, like a post and an over. And he goes, someone asked, one of the scouts goes, who's the ideal guy to run the post on our team? And he goes, well, Julio Jones. And he goes, and then someone goes, well, who's the ideal guy to run the over? And he goes, well, Julio Jones. And he goes, it's a gift and a curse, though, because I want to open up the play for him, but I also want him in both spots. That's what Shaheed can do. JSN, yes, he can run both things very well, But now Shaheed can be the deep ball guy. It opens up all the intermediate space for JSN where he actually really cooks. So
it's so funny you say that, because that exact play is what I had in mind, is like these 2-man play action concepts where you have a lid lifter and then an over the middle of the field option. Now JSN has to be both essentially. And so now you allow him to be more of a middle of the field, like in space sort of option, which even if he can do everything, that's still where you see the best versions of him. And so this actually does make a lot of sense, even if the Seahawks offense is thriving right now.
Yeah, I love this. You know, maybe if they could get a right guard next year, then we're really cooking. But yes, I really like this from the skill players. They got a really fun team. I love the tight ends. I mean, the backs. There's so much going on. Quarterback's pretty good too. I don't know if you know that, but I've been partial to Sam Darnold over the years. I don't know if you knew that, Robert.
I am aware. It's been a lot of a lot of the quarterback discussions this year are coming up, Nate. That's what I would say.
There was a couple of weeks there where I was like, even looking at some of these rate stats, like for this show, for the MVP discussion, I'm like, wow, a lot of guys here that
you're like the dog who caught the car right now. You're just like sitting there like Sam Darnold's good and you don't know what to do with it. Like, what do I do with my hands?
I don't. Yeah. And the guy in New England too. I'm like, well, this was early.
That was also referencing that as well.
Yes. Going into the other one, I really like this trade for the Eagles too. This will be the next trade. Jaelan Phillips went to the Eagles for a third. I thought Jaelan Phillips to a contender was kind of how I kept putting it for a couple of weeks now. I thought the Chiefs maybe should have been in it. No brainer. I don't think there's really much to add. Eagles need to sell. They have a couple edges available. They have some, just because they have some vets and young guys, and the Eagles needed this desperately because there's some patches in the defense right now.
I think at so many different levels, skill set wise, they need that. Even with Nolan Smith, when you eventually get Nolan Smith back, it's a little bit of size on the edge. That was something coming into the year when you look at it, the way they built that room, and they kind of were trying to build it in the aggregate, and they had a lot of length, but not a lot of size on the edge. It was a lot of like skinny, long guys. And so like, all right, you look at Jaelan Phillips. Jaelan Phillips has been hurt for a good chunk of his career. I totally understand that. There are only a few guys when I have stood next to them and had a conversation, I was like, oh, that person is an alien. Myles Garrett is in that conversation. Aaron Donald is in that category. Jaelan Phillips, when you look at how Jaelan Phillips is built, it is truly wild. Like, he is one of those guys. And so bringing in somebody like that to give you a little bit more size on the edge, I think makes perfect sense. Also, he's just like a notoriously good guy. Like, just built the right way, wired the right way. And that's always a question with these things. It's like, you're going to bring in a guy midway through the season. Like, how much buy-in are you going to get from this person? And I think that's just inherent to who Jaelan Phillips is. But also, did you hear him yesterday talking about playing for Vic? He's like, I would rather be nowhere else. He's like, he's my favorite coach ever. Like, I cannot, because he played for him in Miami. And so I think in every way,
and that's when he was blowing up.
Intangible.
They had a little stretch there before he got hurt where they were tearing it up. Tearing it up. Remember they played the Chiefs in Germany, I think it was?
That's right.
And it was like, and it was actually one of the like lowest points, I think, in the Chiefs offense with Mahomes there, where it's like they literally could not run the ball, and Jaelan Phillips was a big part of that. Sorry to cut you off. That's a great point, because when Vic left, remember all the DBs like Ramsey and they're all like,
so it could go either way. Like, that's
Wicked
one
Witch is
like,
gone. Like,
yeah,
what?
He played for him. Did he like playing for him? And the answer appears to be yes. So
yes,
that is a good thing.
Huge point. That's the same thing with Shaheed and Klint Kubiak. I'm sure Klint Kubiak's like, yeah, I don't even care if Rashid likes me. I love it. But great point about the size thing, because the Rams game, the Eagles won that, was where that really stood out to me. Whereas the Rams kept running outside zone, and they had no muscle. They were just getting shoved by receivers and tight ends. And like, that was the game that kind of stood out in my mind, where they just didn't have that edge presence. So great point about the weight and the kind of the different body styles. They've needed it. I've been trying to figure out how I stack the Eagles defense, because I like a lot of the parts of it, but I just like, there's just a couple spots where I'm like, keep my eye on that.
It's going to be a question of how the corners shake out, right? I mean, it's going to like, how do they eventually do this? Like, is it going to be DeJean outside? If it is DeJean outside, can he hold up in a way that you feel good about? Like, how much Michael Carter are we going to get in the slot? How much DeJean within certain packages? Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit, and we'll have this conversation tomorrow on our show, about Kyle Hamilton and the Ravens, and like you being able to kind of move Kyle Hamilton around, and it creates stability at multiple different positions. Like, that's the benefit of it. Is Cooper DeJean that sort of player? Like, if you move him outside, do you suddenly get to a place where you feel more stable at both corner and outside and slot corner? So if that's the case, if they get better in two spots, or at least find stability in two spots, plus adding Jaelan Phillips, where are you really worried about this team. And I think that's just a different feeling than I've had watching them for the past month.
Well, that's why I like DeJean as a prospect so much, was I thought he could be a good starter at 3 spots: slot, safety, and outside corner. That's because that's what he was able to do at Iowa. And so that's where, the what's the phrase? The weak link system, weak link. That's really what it is. Okay. Even if he's an A+ slot, because I think he is, and he's a B+ outside guy, a B outside guy, it's better than the D that they've had out there for the rest of the year, because Quinnen Mitchell's a stud. So it's just like that, again, is just going to help out, especially how they play. Guys are so isolated on the outside. Like, you need guys that can at least be tangible out there. They don't have to be the best players in the world. So no, that's a great point, kind of like boosting everybody else there on the back end. All right, we're getting to the kind of the filler traits. Cowboys acquire Logan Wilson. This is just
you do it because you have to say you did something.
and everyone saw what those linebackers look like on national TV. They're like, oh, okay, it's that bad. Yeah, and you're like, yeah, it's that bad. It's that bad that we're trading for a Bengals linebacker right now.
This is the Jonathan Mingo trade from last year. This is Jerry pretending like he was doing something that mattered. Then it's just not going to matter whatsoever. So good for those guys. I love that
he hinted at it. He was like, yeah, I made a trade already. It's like, okay, Jerry. Okay,
he can't help himself. I think he said the same thing with Mingo last year. He's like, oh yeah, we traded for somebody who's going to immediately help us. And it's like, okay. Yeah.
He's had 3 catches since he's been there. Ran 10 routes since he's been there.
If Logan Wilson can't crack that Bengals linebacking core right now, how excited should you be about adding Logan Wilson? That's
the Bengals, right? No, we have to play our rookies. No. Like, that's how bad they were. Like, no, we have to play these rookies. We can't have you out on the field. Oh, the Bengals, man.
It's why my excitement about whatever the Bears did on Sunday is extremely tepid, because it's like let's just wait a beat and see what it looks like against a team that has a pulse, because that is not the case with the Bengals defense right now.
I had some Bears fans, I've been, mostly some good stuff, but I had some Bears fans kind of go, why'd you call that double 40 burger well done? Don't you mean it's tasty? Do you like well done burgers? And I'm like, because it was burnt to a crisp. Do you see those defenses? That wasn't a fun 40 burger. That was just disgusting display of defensive football for 60 minutes. Well, 60 minutes, I guess. You
want your team to destroy bad defenses if they're going to be legitimate. Correct. It's a box checking exercise more than it is I think this is indicative of where the team currently exists. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is you're going to shred, the Saints, and you're going to shred the Bengals as their current state of the Bengals. Fine. That's great. I don't know what that necessarily means. They played this happens so often covering the NFL, and you know this. Whatever happened most recently is all that matters. And so
Island games, the most recent. That's
the game against the Ravens 2 weeks ago, where they could not run the ball and the offense looked like it was struggling again. Inconsequential. They destroyed the Bengals, so the Ravens game a week ago does not matter anymore.
Well, that's the Broncos offense. You've seen the journey,
the best example.
The takeaways from the Broncos offense against the Cowboys defense. It was they figured it out. Look at this team. It's it's kind of routes on air against it. And then they play the Houston Texans defense first in DVOA. And it's this is a little tougher. Maybe we haven't figured it all out.
It's funny. I think this is a larger conversation, but it does feel like with a lot of these units, we have reached that binary where it's against the bad teams, you can look pretty good. What do you look like against the good teams? And it's almost 2 separate experiences. It almost feels like that's happening more often now than I can remember it happening for one reason or another, because it feels like there's tons of examples of that. Maybe it's a product of how many bad defenses there are.
Yes.
Maybe that's what it is. And I think the distinction between good and bad defenses is almost as pronounced as I can remember it being. Maybe that's the answer, but I do feel like that general idea has come up a lot this season.
I think offensively, there's a lot of young quarterbacks, which is part of it, and quarterback injuries. And then defensively as well, like what you're just saying, I think there is a lot of bad out there. Charles has been kind of going on about this for about a month now. He's like, the bad teams feel worse right now, than they usually do. The bad feels really low. And then also there's just a lot of good, but not overwhelmingly elite teams. So it's kind of just, it feels a little off. So just kind of speaking what you're saying there, that it's just the bad feels real bad this year.
And I think that offensive coaches around the league, and we'll talk about some of them on the show, I think the level of offensive coaching just league wide right now, I think is really, really, really good. And so if you are a defensive coach or a defensive system, and I had this thought while watching the Seahawks Washington game last week on Sunday night. We rewatched it for the show we did, the Hangout Radio with Derek this week. The Seahawks have made their defense impervious to manipulation through various different avenues, right? Like their thought is, we'll play nickel to everything. We're not going to allow you to dictate what personnel groupings we're going to be in. We're going to be in this shell all the time where you have no idea what sort of coverages we're running. Like no matter what you're doing, it's not going to incite a single response from us in any way. Washington's defense is the opposite, where you can manipulate them in so many different ways. And so I think, again, that binary of are you easily manipulatable and are you not matters, because so many 75% of the offensive coaches in the league can manipulate you if given the chance. And so I think those two buckets, you really realize the stark difference between them on defense.
Yeah, and not even just OCs, and I know I just talked about the young quarterback play, and there's a certain quarterback we talked about on Sunday where I was saying, I think we've gotten spoiled a little bit. You and I talked about this years ago, where the floor has never been higher for quarterback play, but it's also never been harder to be elite at quarterback play. That I think is kind of OCs and also GMs. I think the floor is higher than for GMs than I've ever seen, but there's still some bad ones. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that there's not as many, fishes at the table as there used to be. There still are, but there's not as many, where I used to think it was 50-50. Now it's more like, there's a select few, but there's a lot more just solid to good. I think the same thing with the OCs. And I think so just the young guys have so much more Rolodex to pull from and more data to look at and they're just more in tune with that stuff now. And I mean, I'm glad you say it, because that's how I feel as well. There's not as much bad.
The exact right point is that the data out there and what you can pull from, like there's just an awareness of that kind of stuff. And even just like the traveling of information, like you can just be so much better at figuring out which plays work and which plays don't, because in 10 seconds, you can pull up your PFF Ultimate or Catapult or whatever account and be like, what are the 40 explosive plays from this week? Which ones of those can I use? It takes 10 minutes of work when it would have taken 10 hours of work a decade ago.
It's so true. I mean, what's publicly available? I mean, if you just look at, next gen stats and everything, it's just, I'm looking at that stuff. I was like, if I was a quality control coach with this was a superpower. Like, because the stuff that we do now, or with PFF charts, all that stuff, it's really quality control work, what my old job used to be, where opponent scouting isn't, like you said, I could pull up all the red zones, I could pull up all the explosives, I could pull every time that they're in this personnel grouping against this defensive look, against this defensive coverage. And it's like, there's a couple wrong in there, but at least the gist of the cut up is unbelievable. And so that's why I think ideas just spread so fast. I mean, this isn't just freaking football. This is life right now in the world we live in. But I think football is really just a great example of that. So it's really interesting to me, because I just see ideas spread so quickly now, way quicker than it used to be. It's always a copycat league, but it's a quicker copycat league now. Last trade, receiver, Jakobi Meyers, who, again, another guy that's been dangled out there, then taken off, then dangled, then taken off, gets traded to the Jaguars, who had a Travis Hunter injury. If Jakobi Meyers can just catch the ball, he's already an improvement. So the Jaguars for a 4th and 6th round pick. I thought Meyers was earmarked to be going to the Steelers. I thought for weeks, because I thought that was just a perfect fit for everybody. But goes to the Jags. What'd you think about this one? I totally understand it, but I'm curious what you think.
We talked about the Jags on one of the shows we did this week, and I made the point that it's kind of jarring how competent Parker Washington looks at times, and how much he sticks out within the offense, because he's just doing the things he should be doing. That's it. And Jakobi Meyers is essentially bringing you all the stuff that you would want from Parker Washington. He's just a better version of that. And so on that front, I totally understand it. It was funny. One of my first responses, just knee jerk, was, man, it's a lot they've invested in receiver over the last 2 years. And then Barnwell immediately just does the whole list of everything they've spent on receivers in the last 18 months. He can always do the dirty work for me. But this reminds me a little bit. You've had dinner with me before. My wife makes fun of me a lot, because when I order for the whole table, we'll do the whole order, and then whatever the agreed upon collection of stuff we were going to order, I always add one more thing. Because it's like, well, at this point, we might as well throw in the carrots. Like, why wouldn't we? That's kind of how I feel about the Jakobi Meyers trade for the Jags at receiver. It's kind of like, I mean, come on. Like, at this point, why wouldn't we just throw a 4th rounder to the Raiders for Jakobi Meyers?
You guys want peppers? Peppers sound good too. Yeah, we'll throw those in there as well. Yeah, that reminds me of we were in Arizona for the Super Bowl, and then I took the picture of you. I said it's like watching Shaq work in the paint. Like that was you ordering food. That's exactly it. Let's just throw a little hook shot in there. Just maybe a little drop step right here. That's Jakobi Meyers.
At this point, in for a penny, in for a pound. That's the Jags receiving core and the resources they've spent on it.
I did like it because of if I've just looked at this in isolation, because I do like the skill set. I've always liked Myers. He's just a useful, I'm glad you brought up Parker Washington because he's useful. He's going to play in the league for a decade, and he's going to be one of those annoying guys that catches first downs, and everyone's just like, this guy's still killing us? Oh my God. It won't be on a night game because the AFC South doesn't get night games or island games. They get the 1 o'clock.
In London. He'll be doing it in London, if anything. If you're up early enough, you can see what Parker Washington is as an NFL player.
People in England think Parker Washington's the best receiver in the NFL. There's going to be so many Parker Washington jerseys in 22 years. That's exact. He's going to be Joey Cora for Mariners fans from the 90s. It's just this guy that's like only a couple people can reference. But I remember him. He used to kill us. But no, I get it. I like it because he's sure-handed. He does a lot of things well. He can line up outside, can line up inside. He's pretty good against zone. Smart player, a good blocker. So I liked it because he does stuff that they've needed. But like you said, it was just or Barnwell pulled up. It is a lot into the receiver room. But Travis Hunter's hurt and probably going to be hurt for a while, it seems like. So they needed somebody to be running these routes. All right. That was great. Thank you, Trade Deadline, for giving us some nice, juicy information. I'm glad none of it broke there because we already got a half hour into that. But we're going to take our first break. We're going to come back with some more midseason awards. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, all the big ones. See you guys in a sec. All right, we are back. It's time for the big awards. I know we used to always joke about what is this like in the Oscars, but it's kind of reversed because we're starting with Best Picture. What comes before Best Picture? Right before, is it Best Actor? No, Best.
It's usually Best Actor. Yeah, I think it's Best Actor and they always start with supporting. The supporting categories are always the first thing out of the gate. Yep. And so you're pulled in, and then we get to the technical stuff in the middle, and then we're pulled back to the big stuff at the end.
Okay. That makes sense. Just even from a timing standpoint, I never even thought about that. I like the technical stuff. I'm always like best sound and stuff. That's where my eyes get drawn.
Listen,
but we're gonna start.
The fact that I know how the Oscars is set up that
I knew you do.
I'm a big guy, a big Oscars guy. I love the Oscars.
No, I knew you knew that because one time I made a joke about it years ago when we did this award show, and then you're like, you clarified. You're like, well, no, that's actually like third from last, and I was just like, you actually knew that? I think I said we start out with this, and you're like, no, they start out with best supporting. And I was like, oh, I had no idea that was actually like a standard. I just knew Best Picture was the last one. So,
it's incredibly useless knowledge I'm always ready to bring to the table.
It's perfect. It's what we're built upon. But no, to clarify, these awards are up to this point of the season. So after week 9, and not necessarily who we think wins at the end of the year, but we might mention some things about where it's going. Let's start with the big one: MVP, Most Valuable Player. Robert, who do you have? You can throw in some other ideas, nominees, shortlisted. You can just keep with your winner, however you want to go about it.
I mean, I think it's a crowded field. I think it is. It is. It's a tough one to pick this year because I don't think that there's a runaway favorite halfway through the season. I think a lot of things are going to change over the back half of the year as it relates to this conversation. I think that Josh Allen should be mentioned just in the way that Josh Allen is playing well. It's one of the best offenses in the league. Have to throw that in there. Mahomes might have been my pick before last week. I think coming off of that game, it'd be tough to give it to him. Right?
We're going to have the same answer. All right, keep going.
And so Mahomes is like, I think you have to mention it, but I don't think you can land there. I think you can't have an MVP conversation right now without mentioning the way that Matthew Stafford has played this year. Like Matthew Stafford is playing like a top 3 to 5 quarterback and drives so much of that team's success. And so I think you have to mention him. To me, it really did come down to like 2 guys though. Sam Darnold is like right there for me. Like, I think Sam Darnold is playing crazy good football. And some of that, if you're isolating it, and we'll talk about this again when we talk about Assistant Coach of the Year, Seattle has done a fantastic job of creating advantageous situations for their quarterback to throw the ball. The structure of the offense does some lifting when you look at some of the efficiency metrics and all of that. And I'm willing to concede that. But even if you try to separate those things, the throws that he is making and the way that he is playing down to down, he's playing remarkably well for the most efficient passing offense in football. And I do think that goes a really, really long way. But at the end of the day, I think it's Drake Maye.
Unbelievable.
I think it's Drake Maye.
Let's hear it.
You look at the numbers, Drake, and it shouldn't be totally driven by this, but I think these are good tiebreakers, right? And so
agreed. You
look at just total EPA generated on next gen stats in the NFL this year. Number one, total value generated at the position is Drake Maye. And so, okay, EPA is a health of the passing game stat. We know that. It is not directly related to the quarterback. So let's untangle this a little bit. Let's talk about the health of the other aspects of the New England Patriots passing game. I think Josh McDaniels has done an excellent job this season. Excellent. Yes. I love watching the offense because it feels so cohesive. But at the same time, the offensive line is okay. It's functional. You can get by with it, right? Yes,
that's how I've been
arguably one of the most improved units in the league, but that still leaves them like middle of the pack at the very best. The pass catchers, I like, it's kind of a weird island of misfit toys sort of thing. Like the way they use Booty makes total sense for Drake's skill set. And like Pop Douglas can have one of those pop games every once in a while. And I like the mesh that he and Diggs have. Hunter Henry is weirdly like maybe the most valuable pass catcher on the team in some stretches, which is kind of crazy, but nothing is overwhelmingly good. And this is still the quarterback who has produced the most value of any player in the league. And he's doing it with big time throws, accuracy, decision-making, all the quiet, and not even quiet at this point, value he adds as a scrambler. That is solely on him. And so when you look at advanced numbers, eye test, down to down, all of that stuff, I think he's been the most valuable player in the NFL this season. I really do.
I thought I was going to have to be the one making all these arguments. So you're making it easy on me. I'll just start. I'll reverse it and start with my selection because I would agree. I have Drake Maye as well as my MVP. And really, I went into this not expecting to have that as my answer, believe it or not, because really in my head, it was Josh Allen. And then I started kind of looking, I was like, well, Stafford actually. And then it kind of, again, I really feel, I'll put it this way. How many guys I looked up notes on, like looked up stats on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I looked up stats on Jordan Love, but I just can't give it to him. Like, so if I looked at that final 5, it's the same guys you mentioned: Stafford, Maye, Allen, Darnold, Mahomes. Those are the guys I looked up and I said, that's my 5 right there. But even my one thing was, and this is if you look at anywhere online or anyone that is just kicking and screaming, getting dragged into Patriots relevancy again, is, oh, they played such an easy schedule. They played such an easy schedule.
That's totally fair.
But then I looked and I agree. They have played an easy schedule. They've played per DVOA. The Patriots offense, just in general, has played the 16th hardest schedule. So middle of the pack, or 16th easiest, if you want to put it that way.
The Browns are a bad team with a good defense. The Falcons are a middling team with a good defense. Like there are some examples where you can understand how that number gets driven to that place.
And so it's 16th. So it's like middle of the pack. And I was like, all right, well, that's not really as much of a, like, got to knock him as much as it's not 28th. It's not 29th. Actually, the guy that's played the easiest schedule, according to DVOA, is Josh Allen. Of those 5 guys, they faced the 4th easiest schedule. But I looked it up, all the numbers. You know, this is True Media. I kind of go back and forth, True Media and Next Gen Stats. But 1st in success rate, 4th in EPA per dropback, everything you're saying. 7th in DVOA. They're 7-2 leading the East. So you also get the wins element of this as well, which is important, I think, for MVP. 4th in net yards per attempt. You know, he does take a few too many sacks, but he is the team. He is the offense, and they have a lot of fine out there. But he's like making them look a lot better. Like, you know, Booty has played really well this year. Well, he's looked a lot better when every ball is in his face mask or in his chest, you know, and then Diggs has kind of been off and on. You know, he's had the blow up game against the Bills, kind of been in and out of the lineup. Matt Collins is Matt Collins. He's a dirty work guy. They're trying to get Kyle Williams going. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper are solid tight ends, but they're not like, oh my God, the greatest guys I've ever seen in my life. And then the O-line is improved, but, you know, it's not, Garrett Bradbury is still not good. The right side's still not great. And the defense is good against the run, but it's not a true top 8, top 10 defense. So again, if we're talking about MVP, most valuable player, who's doing the most for their team, sometimes it's easy. You pick in the team that has the best offense and everything. To me, it's Drake Maye because of just how much he's carrying. If I had to go get my arm twisted and go like pick someone else, I would go with Stafford because of just what he is doing right now and how he's operating right now is probably the best I've ever seen. And I'm including his Super Bowl year where I thought that was the best I've ever seen him play. But again, he's up there too. 8th in success rate, 2nd in DVOA. Leads the league in touchdowns if you're into the missionary style stats. We kind of faced the middle of the pack schedule. Haven't you missed me? I've faced the middle of the pack schedule as well. 9th in EPA per dropback. But again, all these guys have stats, but none of those stats were like, oh, other than Darnold, really. But then again, it's some of the offensive system stuff we talk about, Klint, Kubiak. So if I maybe have Darnold at a third, I would say. And that's crazy to me because a week ago, I probably had Mahomes and Allen up there. But that's why it's so hard to do this, because it's tight with this MVP race. All the Darnold stats are ridiculous. Second in success rate, 38 paper dropbacks, second in QBR, first in net yards per attempt, 9 net yards an attempt, first in DVOA, 41.5%, 10% higher than Stafford in second, which is, I mean, it's just, they're playing the 7th hardest schedule on DVOA. The offensive system is perfect for him because they're not making him do a bunch of quick decisions. It's all stuff that's like, it's elongated play action stuff. So he doesn't have to be nickel and diming. You want Darnold diming and quartering. You want him pushing and making big plays. You don't want him to be a pristine operator, but they're using him perfectly. But I went with Maye as well because I think he's doing the most with the least, and they're having results. This isn't just me, all 22 process. Look at these Tuesday clips. It's like, no, they're winning games and scoring points. So
I think that's really important. I think that's really important, is that it is checking every single box. And I think with all the other guys, there's at least one other aspect of the offense where you're like, they can lean on this in such a real way. With the Seattle, they have JSN. Like JSN is playing at just an extreme level, like
historic level.
We talked about it yesterday, me and Derek. Like, are there 10 players in the NFL that are non-quarterbacks right now that are more valuable or better than Jackson Smith and Jigba? I don't think so. And so having that is like a little bit of a cheat code within the offense. Some of that, Darnold is driving some of that in the way that he's been able to push the ball down the field. But I think having that, it's not a disqualifier, but it's an important bit of context. With the Bills, like, the Bills have the best running game, arguably, in the NFL. Like, their ability, the fact that Josh Allen can just win a game right now, if they ran the ball 45 times against a bad run defense and he would barely participate in the football game. Yeah. That's not to detract from what Josh Allen is as a player. He's Josh Allen. The Patriots can't do that, right? Like, there is no version of an NFL game that can play out that way for New England. And so when you get into like those nitty gritty, like, okay, like these are the tiebreaker type things, there just isn't an aspect of the Patriots that they can lean on that's not Drake Maye right now. And when you combine that with the proof is in the pudding with the numbers, I do think that combination is kind of what pushes it over the top for me.
I'm right there with you. That's exactly how I view Allen. It's that I love the run game, and it's better for the Bills. And if you're a Bills fan, you should be happy that it's not the Josh Allen show all the time. But that's incredible for them if and when they make the playoffs. It's more the questions are on their defense, but offensively, that ability to pivot, well, they can pivot to an actual strength, which is one of the best run games, or if the best run game. And then
Josh Allen might be the pivot.
Yeah, he's the pivot. Oh, yes. Okay, Josh. Now it's time to roll. Go do your thing, Josh. Let's go have some fun here.
Which is wild considering the conversations we were having about the Bills in like 2021. Like, it feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, I brought up a 2021 Bills reference the other day. I was talking about they played the Bucks that year, and they threw the ball like 50 something times, and I remember that was the pivot point, I think, as a franchise, because that's when Zabel left after that a couple months later to go to the Giants. And since then, they've realized we can't be that extreme anymore. Their running backs, I think, only had 7 carries the entire game. They threw it 50-something times, and Josh Allen had 10 carries. And it was that, and they lost the game to the Bucks in overtime. I'll never forget it. It was in December. I was like week 12 or so, week 13. And that, to me, was like the entire franchise going like, we can't, that's too extreme. We've gone too spread. We've got too much Cole Beasley. We've got too many read routes and RPOs. Okay. And then now look at them. Reggie Gilliam is one of their most important players.
Jackson Hawes. Like, the fact that we're having so much Jackson Hawes discourse is like, says a lot about where the Bills are right now.
It's a good thing as a franchise, even if it hinders a midseason football 301 awards.
And that's what really matters.
We have hinted at this, but I think I know where you're going with it. We're going Offensive Player of the Year. Robert, who is your selection for the midseason Offensive Player of the Year, and any other names that you may have on your, or may have on your
I really have 3 guys that were kind of like in the short list for me. Puka deserves mention. The only reason that he is not like right there neck and neck is just because he's been banged up, right? And so if Puka had been healthy the whole year, I think he'd have a really good case for this. Jonathan Taylor has been phenomenal this season. But I think one of the reasons that neither of us mentioned Jonathan Taylor for MVP, and one of the reasons that he's not my pick here, is just that running backs are dependent on other elements of the ecosystem in order to be successful. Like, you look at the schematic advantage the Colts are creating and the way that offensive line is playing, especially against the run or in the run game for a majority of the season before last week, they've been excellent. Like, Tanner Bortolini propaganda, I'm more than willing to spout it. Like they have gotten such great play out of that group. And has Jonathan Taylor been a huge driving force of it? Absolutely. But I think that is enough of a collective effort that it kind of pushes Jonathan Taylor one notch down for me. And I think that the best argument for why JSN is my pick is that what he is doing is like truly historic. Like his rate stats and like per play numbers it's not an exaggeration. We've never seen someone do this before.
The best of all time.
So that's why he's just the pick for me. Is just that I think as like the focal point of that offense and what he is doing right now compared to historical context over the last decade, we are seeing something like truly special from Jackson Smith and Jigba this year.
That's it. That's literally, it's not, if Jason didn't exist or have this year, Jonathan Taylor is my pick because of what he is bringing to the run game, all that stuff. And I understand the Colts is a very much a collective effort and everything, but he has been great. But Jason has just been truly historically great. Shatter every efficiency stat possible. So like what you're saying there, second highest target share since 2013, 37.3%. It's
crazy.
So 2 out of 5 passes go JSN's ways, basically. 4.47 yards per route run, which is, of course, he leads the NFL right now with 948. He's on pace to break 2,000 yards. But 4.47 yards per route run. What does that mean? Anything over 3 is historically great. But that's first since 2013, according to True Media. The record is 3.85 by Tyreek Hill in 2023. So over a half yard per route run more than the best season we have on record. We don't have some old Randy Moss years, so I'm very curious to see what some of those numbers were.
So I was going back today because I was wondering, it does seem like we might have had route data further back than some of the other advanced stats. Like, was somebody tracking this? But when you get to, I think it's 2012, when you're looking through True Media, that's when it cuts off. And so it's since 2013, he is the leader. But that the context is important. I have the exact same numbers about Tyreek Hill, like 4.47 compared to 3.85. That is a crazy difference.
3.85 was mind-blowing.
It exploded your brain because at that point, every single, and Julio was like, led the league in yards per route run almost every single year for like a decade. And so you look back at the Julio stats and it's like 2.8 and 2.9 and 3.1 and 3.2. And it's like, well, that's the best receiver in the league. And so for Tyreek Hill to be at 3.85 was like a, oh my God, sort of season. For JSN to not just be beating it, but be beating it by that much, I think does put into like very proper context how crazy it is what he is doing right now.
There's only been 12 receiver seasons that have broken 3 since 2013. 12 seasons out of 1,385 qualifiers. 12. Insane. So it's the 1% of the 1%. That is what he is doing this year. And it's not fake. It's not, oh man, yeah, it's a juiced up offense or anything. It's just good old receiver dominating. A sub 200-pound receiver that is just breaking guys off on a full route tree, underneath, intermediate, down the field, ball winner, outside, inside, deep ball. It's everything. He's been so much fun to watch. I keep using the word revelation. He's my favorite player in the
league to watch right now. Like if I'm turning on one player right now, it is JSN, and that's why I found myself watching Seattle's offense so much because like I just want to see what he did that week. Like that's where my brain goes almost immediately, and so I think that's why I've developed such an appreciation for Darnold, for Kubiak, for everything that they're doing. Like the AJ Barner and like all that, like just so many layers to this. It's because I find myself like in quiet moments being like, all right, we'll just turn on Seattle's offense again because I want to see what 11 did.
It's the best. I know. And that's why I love Seahawks period, their defense too. It's just like, and their special teams, they have the best special teams too. So it's like anything, just put Seahawks on and they're good. I know. I can't wait to watch them in a couple of weeks. They play the Rams. And even just the other efficiency stats. So it's not just yards. That's one. First downs per route. He's first, 19.3%. The record was 2023 Tyreek Hill at 17.8%. First in explosive plays per route or explosive receptions per route, 11.3%. So that's gains of 16 yards or more. Only two receivers have ever been above 10%. Number 2 is Puka Nacua last year at 10.1%. It's just a phenomenal season. It's just box score stats, underlying stats, eye test. It's a pretty easy pick actually for Offensive Player of the Year. I'm now curious as we go to the defensive side of the ball for Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you got for this one, Robert?
I
don't want to spoil mine.
I think it's more of a crowded field. I think it's more of a crowded field. I landed on 3 pass rushers as my like top 3 choices.
Okay.
I think that Micah Parsons has been phenomenal this season. And like, if you look at the attention paid to Micah Parsons and you combine that with all of the production, like per next gen, he has been straight double teamed at the highest rate of any edge rusher in the league this year. And it's not even that close.
Like the same stat.
There are other guys like Mikael Williams is up there, but that's because of the way Mikael Williams is asked to play against the run. And like, so there are certain things that juice that number. With Micah Parsons, it's just, that's how often they're double teaming Micah Parsons. And so I think that's worth throwing out there. So he's up there for me. Will Anderson Jr. was my preseason pick. And I think he absolutely like is right there. Like just eye test, but also the numbers you're looking at, like he's second in the NFL in quick pressures per next gen. He has 21 of them. He is 4th in ship rate among players with at least 100 pass rush snaps. So he's getting tons of extra attention, Will Anderson is this year. And among guys with 150 pass rush snaps, only Jonathan Grenard has a quicker time to pressure this season than Will Anderson Jr. And so it's not just the rate, it's not just the total volume pressure stats, which can be a little bit misleading at times. It is how quickly and just seamlessly it is impacting the game. So those 2 guys are my other 2. My pick is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is the best defensive football player in the world. And I just don't think that's a conversation right now. Like he leads the NFL in sacks. And so that in and of itself would be enough to have a really good argument to be defensive player of the year. He's playing the run the best he's ever done it in his entire career. Like if you look at it, the numbers bear that out. He has 10 run stops per PFF, but just when you watch them play, how much and consistently he's affecting the run. He's never done it at this level before. And then just think about like what he does physically that other people don't do. Like there is no one in the world that plays defensive football like Myles Garrett, and the production is there. So anytime it's close like this, it's like, I'm just going to give it to Myles Garrett. He's the best defensive player.
So that's why I like didn't want to spoil it, but literally have this. I mean, the same top 3. I had Parsons 3, Will Anderson 2, Myles Garrett 1. I have literally the same talking points. And that's why I was almost disappointed. I was like, it's kind of chalk, but why would I give it to anyone else? The guy it's not just some underlying pressure number that I'm like, I want to stand out and be like, yeah, this guy only has 8 sacks, but look how many pressures.
You're not telling people something they don't already know from a production standpoint.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just, just look at the box score. Oh, okay. Yeah. That guy. Yeah. Once we get the defensive player of the year, that'll be the discussion, but, or defensive rookie of the year. I'm sorry. But the run stuff is exactly when I wrote I did quarter season awards, and spoilers, I'm doing midseason awards for an article. I was looking at the same stuff, the run game stuff, because it's tangible when you watch them. They're one of the best run defenses in the NFL. And that's always been my one blemish with Myles Garrett, my one thing. And again, this is just picking the smallest nit of a mountain of a man is that once in a while, he knows it's a highly likely run play. And he was okay, just hanging out. I'm not getting paid to do this. Like I'm getting paid to rush the passer and getting those sacks. That's why you pay me. And I'm not knocking Myles Garrett. I have seen every top pass rusher since I've been born have that kind of mindset at times. I mean, literally everyone maybe
except what they're paid to do. They are paid to sack the quarterback. That is their job. That is what they are rewarded to do. And so the guys that do it at that level, it's almost more of an appreciation for their mindset and effort than it is this how I'm judging players. That's like with Max Crosby. Like, it's why I always appreciated Max Crosby. It's like Max Crosby can get paid $45 million a year, even if he didn't want to do this. And the fact that he does says more about him than does about like overall value. And so the fact that Myles Garrett has been there this year when it comes to, we're not very good. I'm the highest paid pass rusher in the league. I'm going to lead the league in sacks. I'm also going to care for every play that happens on an NFL field. He deserves credit for that.
Well, our offense goes 3 and out again. And but it really does. It's tangible. And so I'm so glad he brought it up. So, the sacks, the quick pressures, he's getting chipped at the second highest rate, second fastest get off in the entire NFL. Best he's ever played against the run. So like even to bring context to those runs, run stuffs and everything. 10, which leads all edges. It's not just, that's good for Myles Garrett. It leads the NFL and run stuffs, which is a gain of 0 yards or negative yards. According to next gen stats, his rate is first among edges, 7.5%. His previous career high in stuff rate was 4.8%. It's shot through the roof. And that's when he won the defensive player of the year last time. He had 13 stuffs that entire season that he won Defensive Player of the Year. He has 10 already. So it's again, it's just eye test stats and everything. He has as many stuffs this year as he did all of last year. Stops, another thing. When he won Defensive Player of the Year is 8.8%. So stop is a successful play for the defense on a tackle. And now it's 11.9%, which is fourth in the entire NFL among edge players. Also, just a guy I want to just throw a little shout out to. Not saying Defensive Player of the Year. This might be a guy for tomorrow for when we talk about some other players. Byron Young for the Rams. Also, like racking up pass pressure stuff and sacks and everything, but also dominating against the run. And that's like just another player I just want to give a little shout out to because Verse gets a lot of attention, but Young is awesome.
And I it's been so funny because how I would categorize Byron Young's season is that last year, if you were like watching 8 games at once and a Rams defensive lineman did something disgusting to another player, like if he just, the physical domination was on full display of an offensive lineman, it was Jared Verse. Yes. This year, you don't know. Like it's a 0 and an 8, and I'll look up and I'd be like, "Oh man, what did Jared Verse just do to that guy?" And it's like, "Oh no, that was Byron Young." Yes. And so the fact that he has closed the like wrecking shop gap on the Rams defensive line, I think says a lot about what Byron Young has been this season.
That's so true. Byron Young absolutely destroyed Tyler Shuck on Sunday. I clipped it. I posted on Twitter. And he gets called for roughing the passer because he hit him helmet to helmet. Shuck ducked a little bit, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's
and when that play happened, I think I tweeted originally. I go, "Oh my God, Jared Verse just killed a guy," and I had to delete it right away because I was like, "Oh no, that was Byron Young," because I assumed that was Verse. I absolutely just like nuked the quarterback. But yes, it's splash plays, eye test. I just had to give him a shout out because he's been so good. And also the Will Anderson thing is because again, I'm right there with you. I had the same kind of stats I looked at, second and pressure rate, all that stuff. What's so cool about the Texans pass rush is all their pressures, none of them are cheapies. There's no unblocked pressures, which is like, you can knock this. No, but you can say, isn't that bad about the scheme? It's like, no, it kind of speaks to how good this front is that they go, we don't need any gimmicks. Just line up and go. And so all these pressure rates that they get are like true line it up and beat the guy. And so you got to give us, I think going into last week, I didn't look it up for this week. They only had 10 unblocked pressures in the entire season, despite having like a top 5, top 10 pressure rate. It was like them and the Raiders. So the Texans defense, newsflash, they're really good on top of Will Anderson. But we're going to take our next break, our last break. We'll round out the awards. This is the tech section. This is the tech section of our awards show. But we'll be right back right after this break. All right, we are back. Let's get to some rookies. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I went full hipster on mine. I'm just going to already give you the warning shot on that. So what'd you go with there, Robert?
I gave it to Tyler Warren just because I think
that's a good pick. He's number 2 for me.
He's been so good this year. And like he's arguably been in a world without Brock Bowers, in a world where we have not had Brock Bowers as Brock Bowers for a good chunk of the season. I think you can make a really serious argument. Tyler Warren has been not only the best from a production standpoint, receiving tight end in the league, but just all the things that offense asks him to do, right? Like how central he is to like them finding easy kind of like heartbeat slowing gains in the passing game. It's like, if we just need a cheapie, like we can devise a screen for Tyler Warren, like how central he is to the overall formula on the best offense in the league. I think that goes a really long way in something like this. And so that's why I landed there. I think Ibuka's been really good. The other ones for me, every other name I would throw out there, which I assume one of them is your answer, are all offensive linemen. Like the offensive linemen in this rookie class, to a man almost in like the first 40 picks, have been good players from like day one. Like if Josh Simmons had not missed the last month, I'm sure you could make a serious argument for Josh Simmons right now. And then there's 4, like Campbell, Membu, Banks, Zabel have all been about as good as you would want them to be. There are blemishes, there's certain limitations with every single one of them, but they've been like close to the actualized versions of themselves from very early in their rookie years. And you just don't always see that with offensive linemen. It's much more volatile than that early on. And so for all of those guys to be like defined pluses right away is pretty impressive. And so it's a really, really good offensive line class.
And it wasn't like top 5 pick, top 5 pick, top 5 pick. It's throughout the first round. You mentioned top 40, but yeah, that's exactly how I went about it. Yeah, Simmons has been so good. Campbell's been good. A couple moments in pass protection, but it's still good. And then Membao, of course, looks like just a legit franchise right tackle. So, like, great shout there. But I'll go with my other honorable mentions. Tyler Warren was number 2 for me as well. And that's really, if this was a couple weeks ago, I think this award is Ibuka's, hands down, easy, not even a contest. But again, he's gotten banged up. Bucs offense dropped off a little bit. Tetairoa McMillan, a guy I'm a personal fan of, has some great underlying stats, has some great eye test moments, some highs. He's just not going to get the counting stats, especially with that quarterback play right now. So it is what it is. Like the player, but this award, numbers do matter. But it is my award, and I am giving it to an offensive lineman, and I am giving it to Gray Zabel because he's been awesome. Like, not just good for a rookie, good for the NFL, very good for the NFL. One of the best guards in the NFL as a true rookie and as a true rookie, like a redshirt rookie. As a true rookie, because in looking at that Seahawks offensive line, the center spot, Sundell's been fine, but it's not great.
You can get by with it. He's like the definition of you can get by with it.
Kubiak Shanahan center. That's how I keep looking at him. You don't want him pass protecting a bunch, but get him on the move. You can work with him. The right guard is a nothing. And then Cross is good, of course. But in just
wish the right guard was a nothing. Nothing would be better than what they're dealing with right now.
I keep feeling bad that I keep bringing it up, but it's like so notable. It's just so like, if you just watch this team, 10 guys are doing a great thing, and then one guy is just outright sore thumb sucking.
When you're trying to win the Super Bowl, this is the stuff that matters. And I think that's why it's worth bringing up. Like, if they were just like, oh, whatever, like they're going to be lucky to be a 10-win team, it changes the discussion. Your weaknesses truly matter if you have like championship aspirations. I think that's why it's worth continuing to bring up.
That's why the Colts discussion is so interesting too. It's like, yeah, it's a lot, but they can make a push. It's this type of year. And like, and that's kind of just the discussions you get into. But that's the thing, is if you have that glaring weakness, other teams are just going to pick at it. If anyone watches the NBA playoffs, watch one guy that can't defend and watch what happens through a course of a 4, 5, 6, 7 game series. That guy is going to be put on an island. He's going to get picked. That's what NFL teams do, and especially once the playoffs hit, because they have all this data they can look at. They know who the fishes are. But yeah, he's only allowed 8 pressures this year. Lowest rate among all guards at 3.5%. Only allowed 6 one-on-one pressures, which is the 5th lowest rate among all guards. Hasn't allowed a sack. No rookie guard has played as many snaps as Gray Zabel has this year and not allowed a sack since 2016, which is the furthest I can look back in next gen stats. So it is not only just like, oh yeah, that's notable. Is that good? It's very good. It's very, very good. He's a very good player. Kind of one of these years. I know Jackson Dart is the betting favorite, but I just don't think that's an offensive rookie of the year type performance so far. Who knows what happens in the next 9 weeks?
It's not. Yeah, this is the year, I think, with the lack of competition from skill position talent that are going to put up counting stats, and with how good the offensive line cast has been and how good Zabel has been, that's like barely I'm not detracting from you picking him. I think it's a really good thing. It's barely a hipster pick. Like, that's like a real selection. Like, that's not a contrarian thing. It's like, no, he's probably been the best offensive rookie in the NFL, and I don't think you have to necessarily squint to say that. I think that's a good one.
It's the Hurt Locker winning Best Picture. That's what it is, right? Moving on to Defensive Rookie of the Year. You're going to come up with a better movie comparison than that one, but I'm going to go with the Hurt Locker. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm just going to say mine, Abdul Carter, because it's kind of default, the 2 sweetest words in the English language, but I'm curious if you had a different name for me, because I want to have more of a discussion here.
I honestly think the other 2 guys I would throw out, just because they've been like day one starters for their teams and they've been good players from the beginning, or at least like positive contributors to the defense, are Jahad Campbell and Carson Schwesinger. Like, those are the other 2 that I would throw out, right? And so Schwesinger's hurt now, right? And so I think that high ankle. It's like, okay, well, now it's like, I think you kind of just have to give it to Abdul Carter. And it's not just that, he's 3rd in the NFL in quick pressures this year among all pass rushers. Like, it's, even if it's a slightly underwhelming thing because there's not a lot of competition, I still think he is playing well enough to, when we look back on this in 10 years, be like, oh man, Abdul Carter was the defensive rookie of the year. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's playing well enough to allow us to avoid that down the road.
He has half a sack, but the thing is, it's like he has 8 to 10 highlight plays a week without getting a sack because he just dominates the guy so quickly. I thought the Chargers game was kind of the best example of this. It's like, wow, he didn't show up in the box score. And then you watch it and it's like, oh, he took over the game. And Herbert couldn't even drop back. And of course, that's some of the Chargers line and everything. But yeah, 20 quick pressures, third in the NFL, 1.5% pressure to sack rate, which is like historically low. I don't know. I watch it. I'm not like, oh man, it's because he's light or because of this. It's just quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball and there he is running and chasing the guy. He just can't close it, or he moves the quarterback off the spot. Someone else gets the sack. Brian Burns is having a nice year as well. So he has 34 pressures this year, which is tied with Myles Garrett. So it's a very tangible thing that he is doing. I looked it up among rookie edges with 200 pass rush snaps or more since 2018, which is as far back as this goes. It's the third highest quick pressure rate among rookie edges, seventh fastest time to pressure. And he has the third fastest time to pressure in the NFL this season, 2.59 seconds. So he's great. He's an awesome player. So it's not just default. It's just, I get that he doesn't have the high sack rate. He just does so much. Schwesinger would be my runner up, but again, he's banged up like you mentioned. All right. Now, the one I had to throw in because it's an official award now. It's not
we have to do it. Yeah.
athletic football show, something, it's not football 301 getting too cute here. Well, I was going to go, there's two actually that we get, but this is an official award now. Protector of the year. That's what I'm going to go with now. Robert, offensive lineman of the year. This should be you rearing back and throwing 103 here. Let's see it. So what do you got? Midseason protector of the year.
Crowded field.
Yes,
you could give this to so many guys this year. And that's almost why I think my answer is a little bit anticlimactic, like where I'm going to land on it, because I think of how many guys who have either been phenomenal or have been maybe better. Like Garrett Bowles has been really, really good for the Broncos this year, like something like that. And you combine that with the fact that we're in a spot where there's still some like truly elite tackles in the NFL. Like Tristan Wirfs could easily be your pick if he had played the first 4 games of the year, right? Quentin Nelson is having as good a season as he's ever had for the best offense in the league. And so I think we're all noticing this. There are a bunch of other guys you could throw out that are kind of like my 2-3. I think Andrew Thomas is in that conversation. I think Penei Sewell is in that conversation.
Yep.
Where I landed is kind of like the defensive player of the year thing, where when there are tiebreakers and when it's close and you look at it and it's just like, well, that guy is just the best in the world at this thing. And when I watch Lane Johnson, that is still the case. Like I went back last night because I was kind of racking my brain about it. And I was like, this is kind of where I would land just like anecdotally after watching the season, but like, let me go back and watch like a game this is truly my process. Last night I went back and watched while sitting on the couch. I was like, I watched 3 games of Andrew Thomas, 3 games of Penei Sewell, and 3 games of Lane Johnson. Cause those are like my final 3 that I landed on. And when at the end of the day, just watching Lane Johnson, I was like, similar to Myles Garrett, that's the best offensive lineman in the world. And that's why I landed there. Like, I just think when you watch him in pass protection, the clip that he's able to do it at is just different than anybody else currently playing the position. I love Andrew Thomas. I love Penei Sewell. I don't know if you could stack up I guess he played 7 games this year for the Eagles, right? So 9 weeks, 1 bye, so 8 games. If you watch the 8 games that the Eagles played this year, I think you could count on one hand the number of pass rush reps where Lane Johnson was not in control of the play. And that's just different than even the best players at the position. It's different than Thomas. It's different than Sewell, even if they are those guys. And so ultimately that's kind of where I landed on it. And the numbers back it up to a degree, and we can talk about some of those, but it almost was more of like a gut feeling than anything else because of just what he's doing down to down and the bones of him playing the position, very similar to kind of how I feel about Myles Garrett.
I had a final 4, and the 3 of those names that you mentioned are on that final 4. So Penei Sewell will be 4th. I'll mention that's number 4. Number 3, Andrew Thomas, for some of the things you said. And these stats are going to lead into my point. Andrew Thomas has only allowed 1 sack this year. He's a very low one-on-one pressure rate. He's only allowed 1 quick pressure this entire year. His 4.28 time to pressure would be the longest, so that's a good thing. In Next Gen Stats database, among all tackles since 2016, the player that's in second since 2016, Lane Johnson, 4.06 seconds this year.
I have the same number. Yep.
And Lane Johnson also has the third longest, the fourth longest, and I think the fifth longest ever too. So he's second, third, fourth, fifth in a row. So I decided between two guys, and I'm going to just be a little different because I think gun to head, Lane Johnson would be my answer, but I also just want to argue this other guy who's not a tackle. It's Creed Humphrey, the center.
That's really fun. Yeah, Chiefs. That's really fun.
Just because it's one of these where not only just eye test, because I do think he's the best center in the game, only allowed 4 one-on-one pressures this year. Only 9 total. Zach Frazier is the only other center who's also going to be an all-pro soon. He's only allowed 7. His time to pressure, 4.19 seconds, would be the second longest time to pressure among all interior linemen since 2016. And this is so perfect because do you know who was first, Robert Mays? It's a guy that you are particularly fond of. And he played in the AFC North. Interior lineman, really good. I don't want to give this exact
Alex Mack?
team. No, good answer. But no. So since 2016, kind of the tail end of his career.
Interior lineman.
Marshall
Yanda?
Yes, Marshall Yanda, yeah. 2019, 4.34 seconds. When that name came up, I was like, this is perfect for Robert.
That's beautiful. That's yes. Lovely. I'm wearing the purple in honor of him.
It was one of the stars aligned. Looked up that stat, which I look up maybe twice a year when I'm writing these articles and doing these podcasts. And then I looked that up and I was like, oh, that's the name that came up. But he's I mean, Lane Johnson probably would be my answer really, but I also just want to just shout out Creed Humphrey. So I'm going to have him as the official pick. It's just that he's playing center as well as anybody you'll ever see play center.
Yeah.
Run game wise.
It's a great shout. It's a great thing to bring up.
Run game wise, he's a needle mover. Pass game wise, he's a needle mover. Intelligence wise, he's a needle mover. Grit wise, health wise, knock on wood, all the stuff that you want to see. A true pivot guy, a guy at the pivot, a guy that's the keystone of that offensive line that's been reshaped over the years. So I just want to give Creed a shout out because he's just been so good. Watch him control some of these top tier defensive tackles, and it's really cool to see centers with strength like that. Like just actually the guys, he doesn't get moved back. And there's never a time you see Creed Humphrey in Patrick Mahomes' lap. And you can't say that about every center. Watch what happens with the Lions last week with Graham Glasgow against the Vikings. So, it's just like that really matters. So I want to give him.
And the combination of that plus the work in space. Like to be that stout in the middle and then be able to do all that stuff they asked him to do on screens, and just like it truly is like a rare skill set. And so I absolutely love that. It just, for me, it was Lane. I was watching Lane yesterday.
Awesome.
It's just like you watch it happen, and it's almost these guys that they make it look too easy. And so you don't really appreciate what they're doing. And like, even like the explosiveness that he still plays with in his mid 30s, like when you watch him set up on these plays, how quickly he gets to his spot, and then just the subtlety of the way that he plays, like you'll see it. And even if you're not like zooming in, you'll miss it. But like the way that he still is just always in rhythm, just like in control. He does a little bit of a flash of the hand. He makes the defensive lineman commit first to the move every single time. The timing of the strike, like the placement of his hands, clamping down on guys, like no one does it like him. And there was a rep against Abdul Carter in the last Giants game where it passes in my house, it's you have to see this test. And it's when I watch something and I have to show my wife, where it's like, you have to see this. And there was a rep he had against Abdul Carter where he gets his hands inside and he clamps it down, and he maintains his balance again while being pushed back, and then literally just kind of like lifts his hips and like places Abdul Carter back into the ground and just like shuts down the rep. And just the guy we are giving defensive rookie of the year. Like it just, those moments, no one has them like him. No one is capable of those sorts of moments like him. And so the fact that this is the first year for the award, you almost feel compelled to give it to him almost as like a lifetime achievement thing, because I still think he's going to have 1 million all pros. He's going to win a bunch of Super Bowls. I still don't think people appreciate how good he is and has been at the position for the last like 10 years.
He gets dinged for being a right tackle, even though that the thinking of right tackles has changed in the past 15 years. Really,
since he's been drafted at like 95% of his plays.
Yes, it's his. You don't see a tackle stonewall guys like that. Like, that's what's so cool. And that's how many times you just see it and create those. I mean, the juiciest pockets, the biggest pockets you'll ever see. In Philadelphia, him and Maye do have a lot of impact on that. But man, it's just that he uses kind of the forklift stuff, and it's just, but usually with forklift guys, they can get stuff that into their chest and they get pushed back. His core and his legs are so strong. The functional movement of it. You see how explosive he is. You feel how explosive he is. Getting out of the stance, taking on a bull rush and not moving at all. Just boom, actually stonewalling guys, latching onto him. He's absolutely phenomenal. So like that, it's just so cool to see no drop off. Like I keep waiting for that kind of the other shoe to drop on him, but it just doesn't, because it's just how good he is. So that's a really, really good one. All right. Oh my God, a trade just happened. You want to hear it? Okay. Which New York? Oh, Jets. Jets are trading. Obviously, I know who the player is. I don't know why I said which New York. Jets are trading Quinnen Williams, who you mentioned Sauce Gardner as maybe, okay, maybe they're not the guys that are needle movers on the team. Well, Quinnen Williams is really good. It's just that Jets defense has been a little shaky ever since they fired Robert Saleh. To the Cowboys, Jerry, you dirty dog. Jerry Jones, Quinnen Williams, real quick. I know you're going to react to this anyways, but what's your grade on that one? I mean, I thought Quinnen Williams should go to any other team. I would like a little bit more, but
I just like, this is one of those things where obviously the price tag is going to be lower because the Jets already gave him that contract, but it's like, you just traded Myles, Garrett, or Micah Parsons.
I know.
Why? Like, why? Like, what possible reason is this? Like, Quinnen Williams doesn't host a podcast. That's why he is a better fit for the Dallas Cowboys.
He didn't lay down on the training table.
I just I don't know, man. And I think I saw that they're trading their first round pick, not one of the Packers' first round picks, which is likely going to be like in the teens and not in the late 20s. And so and it's a second rounder too. So it's a second rounder and a future first rounder. So they're probably for their first rounder in 2027 is maybe when that's happening. But I don't know, like, good for the Cowboys, I guess. Like, this just feels like, why did we do any of this if you were going to end up trading a first and second round pick for Quinnen Williams?
I know for a moment we were both watching Rick and Morty. There's an episode where they go to an alien planet, weird. And it's Stephen Colbert is voicing the alien. And it's like, that just sounds like slavery with extra steps.
Yes.
That's what Jerry Jones feels like he's doing. They're just making moves with extra steps to get to the same point. So the Jets now have a bunch of firsts. So, wow, they got a lot. And then second now, I didn't know they realized to trade the second as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the Cowboys offense is awesome. I like it. I'm sure we'll talk about Clayton Adams maybe a little bit tomorrow. But the defense is it's not just like, oh, they need that run stopping defensive tackle, which they've needed since they've left Jonathan Hankins.
Wait a second. Kenny Clark wasn't that guy? I thought Kenny Clark was supposed to be that guy.
The rogue defensive tackle that goes to the wrong gap half the time. No, he actually wasn't. Maisie Smith, the first rounder.
Jerry lied to me, which I can't believe that's
true. Can't believe he did that. Yeah, I mean, I love Quinnen Williams, just all pro caliber defensive tackle. I just almost wish it was just a different team, but the Cowboys are the Cowboys and remain interesting. So they gave up their own first, though. That's okay. Sure.
It just feels like, what is any of this for? Right?
Yeah.
Like, why did we do any of this?
Just
is my prevailing thought. Maybe it's just my Cowboys exhaustion, and I'm not seeing it with as clear of eyes as I probably should.
Right.
But that's my main response to this is like, this is exhausting. I just don't even want to engage with it.
He's going to make an impact, but it's just they need a lot more of an impact. They need like 5 starters to get to where they actually should be, to actually like make a run in the playoffs. The offense can, but I don't know about this. The kicker can. All right, let's get back to the awards. We got the last 2 round up. We'll go Coach of the Year, which is kind of how much fun you want to have with your argument award. That's what Coach of the Year is. It's how much do you want to show your notes? Let's see it. So, Robert, who's your Coach of the Year midway through the season?
To me, it's a 2-man race. I think that Mike Vrabel has done a great job. I think that undeniable. But again, I think that, giving it to the guy whose team is overachieving more than anyone else, I don't necessarily ascribe to that theory. And so I think that's what Mike Vrabel's kind of been. He's done a very good job, but I don't think he's been the best coach in the NFL this season. I think Kyle Shanahan deserves mention. Like, the Niners being able to keep this thing on the rails is very impressive. But for me, it comes down to 2 guys. And I think because it's a combination of multiple different things, I think there are a lot of similarities when you think about the arc of the season for the Colts and the Seahawks.
Same 4 names, dude.
What makes these guys...
32 coaches in the NFL, and we came up with the same exact 4 short list. I think the order that you listed them is the order I listed.
That's how mine is too. the fact that you have the Colts offense and the Seahawks defense.
Yep.
I think, again, there's so many similarities between them.
Yep.
These guys are the play callers for those two sides of the ball, which I think says so much. It's not just the the success of the teams. It's the direct impact they're having on the success of the teams. And even one layer deeper, they both hired the right coordinators on the other side of the ball this offseason, which I think goes into the argument. But for me personally right now, it's Shane Steichen, just because he even, we talked about turnovers against the Steelers, whatever. He's on a heater.
Yes.
As a play caller.
Historical heater.
Like an all-time heater. Yeah. And so that to me is what ultimately puts it over the edge. Mike Macdonald is a justifiable winner, but the true play calling heater that Steichen is on, when you add in all of the other aspects of being a head coach, that's what ultimately puts it over the top to me.
God dang it. I guess we could keep it short, because literally the same thought process, same notes. Vrabel's fourth for me. I'd say Kyle Shanahan, who won my quarter season award for coach of the year because of just what was going on, which hasn't changed for the 49ers. And they just keep winning, keep churning points out. And also just playing hard. That was, going back to 2017, we talked about this even when we first started the show. But just even how hard the 49ers play under Shanahan, how hard, wait until they get talent. And then look what happened. They went to a whole bunch of NFC Championship games, a couple Super Bowl appearances.
That Falcon game, man. Going into that Falcon game with street guys playing corner and you watching that game and them punking the Falcons in that game. That's
controlling the whole game.
That's an organizational coaching staff win, where that speaks to why some teams are better than we expect all the time and why some teams are worse than we expect. You watch that game and the dynamics at play at that game. That is you just play the tape as to why Kyle Shanahan should be in the conversation to be coach of the year, because the defense was doing a lot of that lifting. He hired the defense coordinator. The defense coordinator is his guy that he brought back. And so the Niner staff overall deserves a ton of credit for this year.
Absolutely. You're losing Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and they're competing still. That's just losing your quarterback. And I know Mac Jones, we can make the jokes with Shanahan and Mac Jones, but still you're playing Mac Jones in a backup, still churning out points. Name the receiver that's starting that week. Just then Matt Kittle's out. It's not just tangible players. These are cogs. These are needle.
All
they're not
pro
just
players.
All pro players. They're not just solid. Useful players. It's not Parker Washington we're talking about here. Brandon Ayuk, we still don't know when he's coming back. It's just it's unbelievable what he does. So he's going to be on top three as long as they keep winning games. They have a great game this week too against the Rams, which would be a lot of fun. But I had Mike Macdonald, Shane Steichen, same exact arguments. You got two of the best units. But my thing was why I didn't give it to Macdonald. But even though I'm loving what's going on, and Seahawks are just, I was high on them going in the year relatively to other people, but they've exceeded all expectations to me. Is that it's a very good defense. What Steichen's doing with the offense is a historically great offense so far this year. And we're only going through 9 weeks again. So might have fall off, yada, yada. But even in the game with 5 turnovers, they were still in it. And also on top of it, how many times are you going to have that game? And they still had an offense where they moved the ball at other times in that game. It wasn't just a total throttling where they're in the walls of Jericho for 60 minutes. So I just really, what the offense is doing, the imprint he's having on it, kind of the culmination of what he's doing. The team just week in, week out. I haven't looked it up. I'm sure their variance isn't very high on FTN, DPOY.
It's weirdly higher than you think it would be.
Really?
I did the same thing. It's weirdly higher than you think it would be, which I was kind of shocked by.
Yeah, I'm shocked by that. I thought they'd be easy, way up there. Oh, wow.
I think it's actually near the bottom of the league.
28th?
Yes. Isn't that shocking? How are the Jags first?
Yeah. The Rams being up there totally makes sense. Patriots being up there makes sense relatively, I guess. The Titans are 6, which is actually really funny. Really? I
was shocked by that because I looked at the exact same thing today.
Huh. Well, at least I test. They really feel like they churn it every week. Maybe those Rams-Steelers games are standing out, but even in the Rams game, we're an 80 Mitchell drop ball at the 1 yard line.
I know. I'm surprised by that.
And the Rams might be the best team in the NFL right now. So, yeah, I don't know. But I'm going to Steichen, Mike Macdonald. Either way, I think this is a fun discussion because I think there's some fun candidates this year. And it's not just, I do think, and also just the units they control, like you brought up, all that stuff. So I think that it's a fun little group right there. All right, round it out. Football 301's Midseason Awards show with Assistant Coach of the Year. This is one I think we're both more excited than anyone else to talk about, even though my list wasn't that long because I just wanted to focus on a couple guys. I'm curious who you think are worthy of mentioning and who you gave it to, Robert.
I had 5 guys because, again, I think a lot of the best play calling jobs, especially on offense this year, have been done by head coaches. And so I think that complicates it a little bit.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
So I had 3 defensive coordinators that I want to throw out there. I think Kelvin Shepard has done a masterful job with the Lions defense this year. I'm like so impressed by him. I was incredibly impressed by him in the offseason, just talking to him during training camp. It was just one of those guys you come away from the discussion being like, that guy's going to be successful.
People love him.
Like,
even as a player, people loved him.
It was a remarkable combination of very quiet confidence and very real self-reflection. And I think those two things combined, and like even the ideas he was kind of being like, we're going to do more of this, we're going to do more of this. It's all come to fruition, all the disguise, everything. I think he's done a really, really good job. I think that Chris Shula has done a really good job with the Rams. I think he, like with the fronts, like the way that they're getting pressure on 47% of their third downs when they bring 4. Like the pass rush plan for that team and how they build it, the players are really good, undeniably. But I think the plan up front and how they weaponize those guys, it's as good of a front 4 coaching job as exists in the NFL. And I think he does that consistently. Yep. I think Jeff Ulbrich has done a really, really, really cool job with the Falcons defense.
Just watch third down.
It's awesome. It's that him changing his stripes to the degree that he has and really trotting out some very new ideas. I think he deserves so much credit for the job that Jeff Ulbrich has done this year. But to me, it comes down to 2 guys, and we mentioned both of them over the course of the show. To me, it's Josh McDaniels and Klint Kubiak. I think that the job those guys have done on offense has been incredible, and I'm giving it to Klint. Like, this team is number 1 in passing DVOA with JSN, Cooper Kupp, Torrey Horton, Elijah Arroyo, AJ Barner, like a bad run game. Like and I understand like the run game is also his purview, but the run game is, it fuels what else they try to do. And like, I think it is the cohesiveness on offense and the results on offense, and just the structure is fantastic. Like they have more plays against base defense than any team in the NFL on offense. They are dictating the way that these games are going to go. That is offensive design and architecture. The play calling has also been absolutely incredible.
Exquisite.
Like it's the combination of the plan and the execution of that plan and what it has done to the players on that offense that I just think that Klint Kubiak, in my opinion, like kind of stands alone in the offensive coordinator job that he has done so far this year.
Watch their opening drives. Just their first 15. I know it's kind of oversaid sometimes. It is a clinic. It's just... that's how you know they're game planning well, and they don't have a drop off. There's some coaches, if I know Jackson Dart's a rookie and everything. Watch the Giants after their first drive. First drive is great every week, and then it just kind of tapers off. And then, that's
the difference between play calling and design, right? Like play calling is a 4-quarter thing. Play design is what did you do when you game plan those 15 plays all week? And the Seahawks do not fall off. It feels like he's pressing the right buttons all the time. It's crazy.
It's cool. And every week there's a little something different. Like, it's just like, of course they run the staples of a Shanahan Kubiak scheme, but it's just like little twists of formations. Little, like the Steelers game stands out to me more than any game, because it was just like, that's when they got Cooper Kupp going. The run game actually had some moments there too with Kenneth Walker, but it was like, that was the week that I was like, oh, and I think Torrey Horton caught his first touchdown that week. And I was like, oh, the auxiliary pieces are picking up now. And it's not just like, oh, this ball's going to Jason, check down to the other guy. It's like, no, Cooper Kupp designer play. But it wasn't, I don't know. Sometimes guys get fed, squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it's just kind of BS, like why they got that target, why they got designed. It was like, no, that made sense why they ran it. Cooper Kupp doesn't need to run a route past 10 yards. Like it actually made sense to like KYP, know your personnel. And I think Klint Kubiak is so good at it, including with his quarterback. He's number 2 for me. But you mentioned all the same guys. I had Shepard, McDaniels, Kubiak as well. My offensive line coach shout outs, because I feel like I always have to give one. Tony Sperano Jr. for the Colts.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Great stuff. It is sound. It is the run game kind of twist, because that's what the O-line coaches have impact on. Everyone's playing the best ball of their career, which is also like a sign of who you should reward as a coach. Clayton Adams would be the other guy I want to mention, but it's just like, It's just hard with that. We're discussing the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, he's not the play caller, and so like you feel his impact, but like it's in a different way than all these other guys.
It's a different way, and they also have a good line coach too, and he's an OC technically, right? It's just a whole thing, but it's a collective effort. But Clayton Adams is awesome too for the Cowboys. I gave it to Chris Shula though, my assistant coach of the year. One of those that maybe a month ago I wouldn't have, because I was like, this is some smoke and mirrors BS, and like a good pass rush, but we'll see. Every week they just take it to offenses. They find a new answer. It's not the most perfect defense as far as talent that you'll ever see, but everyone plays to their best version. Watching the cam safeties, I can just say cam, and it covers both of them. Watching how they uses those guys. You got retreads at corner, playing the best ball of their career, Emmanuel Forbes, amongst others. Of course, the pass rush is kind of what is their bread and butter, but also how he unlocks those guys. They use dime more than anyone else. And it's not just dime to use dime. I get why they're using each guy, why they have Lake in certain spots. And now I want to see how they use McCreary, because I loved that move, speaking of trades, because it was like, oh yeah, that's perfect for your defense because of what he can do and be in the slot, be outside, be in the post, all that stuff. But stat-wise, 5th in DVOA, 3rd in weighted DVOA, and 3rd in passing, 6th in rushing, 3rd in sacks, 7th in knockdown rate, top 10 in pressure rate, 5th in yards per play, 4th in success rate, 1st in EPA per play. And again, it's not just one side of this defense that's carrying the weight, because I thought they'd be weak against the run this year. Just when you have Fisk as a defensive tackle.
But that is such a great example, because when you watch them play the run, how consciously they're spiking Jared Verse inside on some of these plays. Like
it's attacking.
That is, when you watch, it's so funny, because I think there are plenty of defenses. The Giants are a good example of this to me, right? Where you watch the Giants and you see this overwhelming level of front four talent, and you think, why aren't they controlling games, right? Why can't this group control games? Well, you need to utilize and deploy them in the right way. You need to accentuate their strengths. You need for that group to feel like, even if the parts are good, are they more than the sum of the parts, even if that group is already talented? And there are some defenses where you don't feel that, because, we're going to bump a guy inside on 3rd down. That's the wrinkle, right? Like, all right, Congratulations. Is this the 2011 Giants? We've been doing this for a while.
NASCAR package.
We've been doing this for a long time. When you watch the Rams, there are very conscious efforts to use the transcendent pieces you have in order to paper over some of the other weaknesses that you have. And I think that is, to me, what has been so impressive about watching them.
It's so all about coaching is, getting your best guys out there. Okay, no duh. But also just personnel wise, you have to do that. Getting the guys to highlight their strengths, take advantage of mismatches. And that's what's cool about watching the Rams, because it's like, what did they do? And it's like, well, it depends which week you're watching, because I'll watch Jared Verse nuke a center one week, and then the next week he's only lining up at edge. It's because they have the talent, but also the talent's getting used in the right spots. I think they have just had so many cool performances, so many cool designs. I think Shula is kind of on the forefront of some stuff as far as like, he's willing to try some kind of funky stuff, and as far as like how he uses the DBs, some of the coverage stuff. Like no one's kind of perfect on the back end, but you can see how smart and well game planned and well opponent scouted their safeties are. Again, those Cams and Lake. Watch them playing safety and how much they. This route's coming, saw it off. Or this combination's coming. Okay, we got to overrun it. They had one last week. It was one of the first drives for the Saints. And Durant tried to jump, and it just went past his hands. He tried to jump like an inbreaker, but it was so cool to see him recognize what the play was, come from the outside and try to jump it. And usually you see guys doing that are like the best corners. Those are the guys that jump those routes, the Trent McDuffies of the world, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, those guys. But then you watching Kobe Durant doing that, it's like, this is good coaching right now. Like, this is pretty good stuff that's going on right now. So I had to give it to him, because he's done. Last year, it was kind of a nice surprise for me, and this defense was. And I think this year it's more like, you're just good. Like, yeah, you have some talent, but you're using them in a really good way right now.
I'm sure it's really rewarding for Sean too, because they're like really good friends, and they've been really good friends for a really long time. And so I think there was part of him that probably, like, when you elevate a guy who you have a relationship like that with, the optics of it can kind of be weird sometimes. And it's like, you really hope he succeeds, right? Like, even if you do believe that he's the right guy. And so for him to be doing the job that he is, I think everyone in that building is probably pretty pleased about how this has gone over the last couple of years.
All right, we are closing it out today. Thank you so much to Robert, my guy over there, for joining me. My friend, my good friend, Robert Mays, for joining me. Charles and I will be back on Thursday to preview Week 10. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Robert, where can they find you? What do you got going on this week over on at the Athletic Football Show?
We're around every day. 5 days a week, the Athletic Football Show. We have Building the Beast with Dave Hellman and Dane Brugler coming later this week, which, Dane obviously does a fantastic job. And then we have a live trade deadline show that is going to be happening on Tuesday afternoon. So after this runs, but that is available on your YouTube feed. If you want to go check out our trade deadline reactions, encourage you to go do that. Other than that, the Athletic Football Show. It's available wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you get them. Athletic Football Show. I missed the blimp.
It's gone now. Listen, I know. I want to be very clear about whose choice it was and was not to get rid of the blimp.
I tried to get mugs made one time, or Yeti little things made, or tumblers made one time with the logo on there, and they flagged it over and over. And I was like, God, it's like, they're like, oh yeah, it's trademark and copyright. It's like, I work for the show though. I just want to do this, but they won't let me do that.
I promise they don't care. I promise.
Thank you so much again to Robert. Also, make sure to check out my film room every Wednesday on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. We're down to X's and O's on that because the NFL likes to clamp down on everything that anyone does. It's they came back with a ban. They clamped down in 2025 on that stuff.
They're being particularly litigious these days.
Yes,
thankfully, we've taken measures to help that on our side, but not. I think it's a lot to ask of anybody.
It really is. So we're trying to find those loopholes. But anyways, it's fun to break down some plays. So make sure to check that out on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to us, follow us, rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. Also watch us on YouTube on that Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. You can check out me and Robert here, listen here, and our Thursday shows and our Sunday recap shows live with Charles McDonald. Thanks to Stone, Austin, Madison behind the scenes for making this look and sound good. Thank you all for listening. See you guys next time.